Hello, welcome to the Entrepreneurs Network, the region's crossroads for aspiring and serial entrepreneurs, prospective investors, and helpful service providers. I'm Rick Anthony. I don't know how today's parents, especially mothers, do it. I don't know how they spend their days chauffeuring their little athletes from practices, rehearsals, games, tournaments, weekend events, et cetera, et cetera. In my day, we walked to the field or the gym. But in my day, a family had one car, and the principal mode of transportation was walking, or you took the trolley. The other thing that I don't understand is the paperwork. Permission slips, waivers, health records, insurance forms, just in case something were to happen. Who can keep up with that stuff without technology, without some assistive device to keep it all straight? My guest today saw the frenzy in the paperwork and saw an opportunity. He saw a need, and he has developed a venture to satisfy the need. Sandy Butcher is an entrepreneur who owns and operates two other businesses. There have been others before them. He's also a volleyball enthusiast. As a longtime volleyball coach, he's seen the opportunity, the need to do something about all the paperwork to help the parents with this frenzy. Welcome, Sandy, to the Entrepreneurs Network.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here. Several questions, but before we get to myfileit.com,
Okay.
which is your latest venture, tell me about the other businesses and your business history, which brings you to this point.
Well, I go back a long ways. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 21, and I'm not going to tell you what I am now on there. And I've bumped along, had some successes, and learned a lot of things. But in the past couple of years, basically, I've always had a software development company and interactive agency, and basically we developed many years ago, before people really knew about the paperless environment, a company called 123 File It, which basically helps companies scan their documents and make them accessible very quickly, and also basically in the case of a disaster, they're on a CD.
How long ago was that? When did you start that company?
I started that company back in 1980.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you really were ahead of the times and
Yes.
a pioneer.
Right, and actually one of our first companies that we did work for is right up here in King of Prussia, and they have over 1 billion pages saved using our software.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So what's that model? Is that a subscription service?
No, that model was that particular model. We have a subscription service, but that particular model, we just sold the software to it, and then helped them make it work. And it's somewhat customized. So basically, you get a basic and then off the shelf, and then you customize it.
But how do you compete against the big players in that space? And Lord knows there are plenty of them.
There are a bunch of them. We competed in that space by being willing to customize, because going back to my software development, so we were willing to create specialized workflow and other things like that, that at a very reasonable price. You know, some of these other systems are very fancy, but for the Fortune 500 are the ones that can afford them, or the governments. You know, a small business has a tough time.
So that's one business. The other business is a web design business?
Yeah, we do. We basically took our software development, and then we added web design. So we do all aspects of the website, data portals. We just did a project for Hopkins University.
Oh, really?
And keeping track of doses of shots of different types of like HIV and things like that.
Right.
And then basically they would take that data, and on this portal, they would create a flowchart of all the things within Africa, and then go talk to a country like Afghanistan, who basically the drug companies will, and the Gates, this is part of the Gates Foundation, we're willing to give some donation, and this thing would show how much their donation how much the country had to come up with to take care of the young kids from just born till 18. So it was pretty, it was a fun, interesting project, and we were fortunate to get on there.
Well, for almost as long as you've been in business, you've been an enthusiast of volleyball,
I have.
and more than just casual.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, it's funny because basically, I guess the real simple answer to that is you can do, when you have kids, and I have 6 on there, and you either sit on the sidelines,
Yes.
and if truth be told, get rather bored because if your daughter's doing the 100 race, well, that happens in about 10, 11, 15 seconds, but you sat there most of the day. That's not me. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not going to just sit around. So to me, it was, I'd rather be doing something and involved. And so basically that's how I got started. And I actually did it with track and basketball.
As a coach?
As a coach on there. First starting back in the CYO programs
Right.
with young, and then basically a job opened up over here in Flowerton at Mount St. Joe's. And basically 11 years later on there, I moved on to the college arena, but I've been doing, I was the head coach for basically 5 years with the University of Sciences women's
Really?
volleyball.
When did volleyball really take off as a recognized sport?
Probably about 15 years ago. It's a lot of people don't realize it, but for girls, it's a huge sport. We just
I know my granddaughters.
Yep.
They all played volleyball,
Well,
competitive volleyball.
we just finished down to understand how big this is. We just finished a tournament. It's a national, what's called a national qualifier for the USA of volleyball down in the Pennsylvania Convention Center, and we filled up 2 big halls for 2 weeks in a row because they couldn't fit them all in on there. So it's 40, maybe 50,000 girls are playing the sport, and that's just pulling basically clubs from 500-mile radius.
I guess I should know the answer to this. Are there professional volleyball teams in the U.S.? I guess there are. In other countries.
There are some, you have the women's, you have the AVA Beach Tour, which is really probably the only thing right now that is on the professional thing. You got to be very special for that. One of the nice things about the whole thing, and I think one of the reasons basketball has become, and basketball is the other women's sport that's, is #1, but it's so competitive on there. And it's really about, with parents, with the price of college these days, they would love to get some help with athletes, athletics. So that's what.
So how do, particularly in women's sports, how do basketball, volleyball, and soccer, how do they line up? Pretty much in that order?
Indoor. Well, you're talking about an indoor and outdoor sport. Okay,
well,
outdoor.
but
There's probably soccer's huge, but where soccer, the thing with soccer you have to understand is to be able to play soccer, you really your coordination skills don't have to be the same as basketball or volleyball. You have your hands, you have your feet, you have to do things on there where really soccer, and I'm sure you'll get some people from soccer saying completely different, but basically they're using their feet mostly and they're able to run. That development happens a lot younger. So I think what you see is soccer is, the kids are very involved in soccer when they're younger.
Yeah.
And as I know, some of it dwindles off as they get into the high school on there, and so it's very serious play in high school and of course in college. Where volleyball, we really don't start until the kids are 12 years old. There's a few at 10 or whatever, but playing, like doing the club volleyball, like I'm involved in Synergy, basically, we really, it's 12 years old up to 18 is really where all the training is. And that's what the high
I
school.
don't want to take us too far
Sure.
off on a tangent, but since you've spent so much time, dedicated so much of your time, have a passion for the sport or sports, particularly women's or young women's sports, I guess. In your opinion as a coach, what are the principal lessons to be learned for young people who participate in competitive sports?
Well, I think the thing that I've learned, okay, is a couple of things. And I think this is the same, the thing that gets me excited and why I like sports is it's not like my business. Sports is a very short period of time, 3 or 4 months. It's a challenge for me to build and see if I'm going to win or lose. But I really like to see how I feel very comfortable, not necessarily about the wins and losses. It's always nice to win on there. But I feel more comfortable if I take, for example, a video of that child at the beginning and then take it at the end and really see the improvement that I've taught them something, I've trained them something. I think sports in general, whatever sport you pick on there, is really helps you in the business world and being an entrepreneur, because I think it gives you a lot of different little short stories of life.
Yes.
But the neat part is it's a game, so it doesn't count. But it gives you an idea. What it really allows you to understand is when there's stress and when you're under pressure.
Right.
When you're playing, when you're playing and know that if the team, and you're in volleyball, it's a team sport. Basketball is a little less of a team sport. That if you have a couple of good shooters, you do pretty well. But volleyball's not that way. But you all have to play as a team, and you understand the outcome is if you put too much pressure on yourself, it's all mentally, and you start to react. So it really teaches kids how to prepare mentally, which is really, at the end of the day, the difference between one good team and another good team is how they mentally prepare for it.
Okay. So what's the connection between volleyball and this latest venture? How did the two come together?
Well, it's
myfilet.com.
It's
right there on your shirt.
It's MyFilet, and the website's myfilet.com. It's also
without the hyphen.
Yes, yes. There's no hyphen, and then it's also available in the Google Play Store and also Apple. It really came as I'm a co-director and partial owner of Synergy, and I do a lot of the behind-the-scenes paperwork and stuff like that.
What is Synergy?
That's a premier volleyball club in King of Prussia. And I watched over the years, and then I've done it myself in school and everything. I've watched tryouts, and now to give you an idea, a tryout to go to a high school, you need 17 forms filled out. Just 17? Yes, on there.
Is that to play for a season, or is that every game?
No, that's to play for the season. That's your medical forms,
Okay.
your code of conduct, your emergency information, permission releases, team contracts, and all that type.
Required by whom? Are there state laws?
PIAA.
What's that?
PIAA is the Pennsylvania Intercollegiate.
So it's a state regulatory.
It's what all the most of the high schools around here are part of. Okay, and that's when you hear people say, "Oh, we went to states to play for the championship." It's their It's the Pennsylvania organization, and in this day, of liabilities and everything,
yes,
we've got to get things signed on there. So I saw that as a big issue, and I'm sitting there saying, well, I have a document imaging system. Boy, this would be easy just to do this. And over the years since I had a document, or I have a document for 15, and then we finally, actually my son finally prodded me, hey, let's do an app because it's really needed. He has kids too, and we find between, basically going and getting the information, and then I have a son, for example, that's a third grader, and this is a perfect example. He comes home with a permission slip from the school to go to the trip to Morris Arboretum. Well, don't you know, I got home, got on the table, and today, most of the time, both parents have to sign on there. So my wife put it there, I didn't see it, and then a couple of days later, we get a nasty gram saying, he didn't say, well, so, and then he forgot, we did it, but my son forgot to, we put it in his school bag, he forgot to give it to the teacher. And these types of things happen all the time, and it's frustrating. I know on tryouts, when people come to try out for our club, they don't have their ID, they don't have this, they don't have that on there, and they're searching all over for it, and they have to go. And I sat there and said, there's an easier way to do this, and also there's a way to ensure better safety. And basically, one of the things people don't understand is that if you're in a high school situation and you pass all your forms in, the school then takes copies of that and gives you the copies of the medical stuff.
All right.
If the coach forgets it, he put it in his bag and he forgot his bag or whatever, there's no way. Then all that does is, in a case of emergency, that basically you're going to spend more time getting hold of mom or dad to be able to find out if he has a peanut allergy or whatever other penicillin or whatever other problem.
So explain to me how it works. So this is a form, and I sign it, and I now give it to you, the coach?
No.
No, this is the old way.
The old way. Yeah, the old way is I took this, I checked to be sure the dates were valid because, like, for a physician's form, it has to be within 6 months on there. So I took all this information and then said, okay, Johnny, you can now try out.
Do I get that back?
No.
You keep it.
This goes. Then I give this to my athletic director.
All right.
And they do the collection. They'll probably double verify it. They'll take a picture of certain documentations, normally the medical part, and then about a week later, okay. Of course, we're in tryout mode, so basically nobody's going anyplace at this point. I will be handed all that, and then it's my responsibility to be sure that, number one, that I know that if somebody, for example, one of the most important things is that a coach understands if a child has an inhaler. Because there's absolutely nothing that he can do if the student doesn't have the inhaler with him. Coach can't do anything. There's nothing he has the ability to do to help that child out. So one of the things I've always done when they have an inhaler, and I have to say it drives the insurance companies nuts, but I think they're getting used to it, is we would take an extra inhaler, and I would put that in the medical medical kit that we have to take on there, so that at least if there was an incident, we had a way to solve it.
So that's the old way.
Yep.
The new way with MyFileIt, is what? I still hand these forms in?
No.
I don't.
No. We don't want the paper or the walk, or we try not to. So what happens is you either get the form off the school's website, which is
Okay.
for tryouts, or it comes home to you.
Right.
So we're not changing any part of the school system. It works. It's
Okay.
just, it could be better. We then turn around, look at that form, fill out the information, sign it, and then bring your phone over, take a picture of it.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Completed form.
Take a picture of it.
Take a picture of it.
And then basically you will we have a list of different types of forms.
Right.
You pick one of the forms, which is called indexing it. And then basically you upload it to a secure virtual file cabinet. Everybody has their own. So we have a patent pending technology that basically ensures that your pictures are not in with the family next door's pictures. Okay. You have your vault and they have their vault.
I now have an electronic file cabinet with all the forms in it, the doctor's permission, et cetera, et cetera. Yep. 17 pieces of paper.
And that costs you $0.
Okay.
It's free.
But how do you get what you need so my child can play?
Okay. So then what
do you
happens?
have access to the file?
No. The parents are the ones that are sharing the information. Okay. The parents, and that's very important because that's how we meet all HIPAA compliant rules on there. So basically, what happens is, your documents are up in your file cabinet. You then say, okay, I'm going to go do a tryout for volleyball.
Right.
So you go over, you say, I'm going to share the documents. You press the documents you want to share, select them on the phone, and then you basically pick the organization that you want to share them to. So let's say it's Synergy Volleyball. And then basically you'll see a bunch of events that Synergy Volleyball has, and you want to share it to the tryout event. And so basically, and then all you do is press share. And basically, when you do that, I'm making the assumption that you bought a share key, and a share key costs you $3.99 to $5.99 for a whole year to use it as many times as you want.
And that facsimile of a document is acceptable under the regulations?
Yes. The rules are this. The court's rules. Okay. There are a few documents that must be original. Most of them, to my knowledge, okay, have to do with your mortgage. There's 2 or 3 pieces of paper of your mortgage that they can take a picture of it, but if they need to prove it, they have to show the original on there. The courts have come down this way. They basically, after all the things we had, if you remember 9/11 and all those, the papers raining on there, is closest to original counts on there. So the reality is, unless you're trying to hide something, the copy is just the same as the original. And so basically, if somebody's going to bring the original out, let them bring it out. There are sometimes, or at least I've been told, I'm not aware of it in Pennsylvania, but I've been told in some of the southern states that some of the physician papers have to actually have a seal on it. Of course, if it has a stamped seal, we can do that. If you don't, we can't do that.
As you know better than I, there are any number of software programs out there. There are vaults for papers, et cetera. How is MyFileIt different from all the others?
Well, MyFileIt's different from a couple things. Number one, you can go up and you can go to Google's Docs and you can keep track of your the things on there. But the problem is you can't really share them, and securely with schools and organizations. This has the ability to have that, and also then allow the coach to verify the things on there. And then what you will also have is, if we know who the roster of children are, like if it's a field trip, and we know the things, you will get a friendly reminder
Okay.
if you did not receive the document. So again, this helps the teacher on there, because if it's one place for the teacher for everything, instead of having most of those other documents, the way you share them would share them by email. So that would mean the teacher would get a ton of
I
emails,
see.
and that gets ugly.
So it doesn't cost me anything using your software, the app.
Right.
So how do you make money?
Well, what we do is it doesn't cost it doesn't cost the organizations, the schools, the clubs, or anything. It costs absolutely nothing for them to use our app. We make our money basically. We tell the parents that basically when they share a document, there's a cost, a one-time charge per year of between $3.99 and $5.99.
Okay.
Okay. If you go to the Apple Store, it's a little more expensive, and that allows that it's less than a Happy Meal, and it's all there.
How big is the market? Just for sports, because you have other applications.
Yeah,
for the app.
the youth sports market is basically close to 60 to 80 million users.
What's the age bracket for that?
The age bracket is basically from about 8 to 18, or in college. There's some, there are some college things. But you said there's also a huge market for events and other things like that.
You've been an entrepreneur for a long time, and as you said at the outset, you've won some and lost some.
Yep.
That goes with the territory. Is there a single lesson in the time we have left? Is there a single lesson that you learned that is worth imparting to other people who aspire to own their own business, start their own business?
Two things.
Two things.
Two things, I think. I find that it's very important that you do some type of business plan, and I mean, I don't mean a simple, a very detailed. Go through the detail, because it clears out your thought and really gives you
That discipline.
That discipline. You, and then the other thing that I would tell you is sort of you have to be persistent. Nothing. We thought for a year now that we had something that was totally unique. We found some things on the side of some other people, which actually makes it better, because now it validates my idea that somebody else was
create
making
the
money
market
on it.
as well. Yeah.
Right, but you have to be persistent, and they're not going to come to you. You've got to go out, and you've got to you have to be either have somebody that's one of your co-founders who's is going to go out there and knock on doors and get it done, or you have to do it.
It's hard work.
Yes.
It's really hard work. And you know as well better than I what the mortality rate is of early stage ventures. After all that hard work, all that money, and you fail anyway.
Yep.
For a variety of reasons. Well, thank you very much for sharing that. If those who are interested in, well, first of all, you don't sell to individual parents. You sell to organizations who make it available.
No.
Oh, really?
Oh, no.
Okay.
You can actually go up right now
to
and get it, to
myfilet.com.
Tom, well, MyFilet is the app. Okay. Or MyFilet Docs is the name Apple has called it, and you can download it for free. There is if you want to be able to just take your apps and put them up there and then email them to anybody, you pay a license key of $3, and then you can share them, and you don't need to have your school or an organization, but you have everything up there. It's unlimited amount of documents, personal documents.
My guest today has been Sandy Butcher, a serial entrepreneur. His latest venture is myfilet.com. Com. Okay. .com. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sandy, good to be with you. Until next time, this is the Entrepreneurs Network. I am Rick Anthony. Take very good care of yourselves